Good. Welcome. I call this August 22nd, 2023 hybrid administrative meeting of the Board of County Commissioners to order. I would like to turn it over to Vice Chair Barboa, who will lead us in make a statement and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance in a moment of silence.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yesterday was National Fentanyl Awareness Day. For folks who may have not known, the county has done a really great job at running a robust media education awareness campaign to make sure our residents across the county are aware. It's called keepnmalive.com. I encourage folks to visit it. And I also want to name out that 988 is available for people as a warm crisis line for anyone. And it doesn't have to be major behavioral health issues. It could be you're having a bad day and you need somebody to talk to. So I just want to name in honor and in loving memory of all the many lives that have been lost to this fentanyl crisis and public health epidemic that we are currently going through, and that those one lives lost mean whole families broken and whole families' lives changed forever. So I just want to honor them today with a moment of silence. Thank you.
Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have announcements and additions or changes. Mr. Acting County Manager, do you have any additions or changes to the agenda?
Madam Chair, Commissioners, we do. Item 10A, which is finance, is the American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA, award approval of projects to be deferred to a future meeting, and a vote's required for this change.
Thank you. Do we need to do a vote on each individual change, or okay, let me ask if there are any other changes to the agenda.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Lucas.
I would like to ask that item 7E be removed from the consent agenda for regular consideration.
Okay, and that will be moved to item 10C?
Correct.
That's right, okay. And I have one change. Commissioners, at this time, I would like to move for deferral of item 9A, the Bernalillo County Infrastructure Capital Improvement Plan, ICIP, 2025 to 2029. I'd like to schedule a briefing from staff on projects before considering it for final adoption. And that final adoption will be proposed for September 12th meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Benson.
Thank you. May I ask you for clarification, specifically on deferring 10A and 9A? With 9A, just I want to be sure we're sensitive to the timing of it. I know there is a deadline to it. And with senior citizen facilities and meal sites, there's several locations in my district. And I just want to make sure we're not bumping up against any loss of funding for any of those. And then 10A, with the housing support building purchase, I'd like clarification of why we would defer that.
Certainly. Thank you, Commissioner Benson. And I would like to answer to the, actually I can answer to both of them and open for discussion, but 9A, and that is the 4-year CIP plan. And I feel like it's a very important, as you point out, there are so many things in this overarching plan for our capital planning. And we've spoken with the capital planners and Kathy Court. As long as we have our approval by September 12th, that she is right on time. What I thought this would do is give us the opportunity to delve into that and really have some discussions about what is in that long-range four-year plan, which I haven't had the opportunity to do. There's also a benefit, it can dovetail with us putting together our beginning of the resolution, of our capital resolution that prioritizes those. So I don't think we'll waste time. We actually will have a stronger movement forward, and we shouldn't miss any deadlines. So.
Okay, thank you. And excuse me, 10A,
Yeah, and I can talk to that, speak to that as well as the county manager acting. That is in my district on 4th Street. It's an important thing. It is a proposed purchase of property for housing. I have found that, and it's an ARPA appropriation, I understand that, and we really want to do that kind of thing, but, and affordable housing, as we all know, is very, very important. I felt, though, that we have to really talk with the neighbors in that neighborhood to talk about what the intent of the county's purchase would ultimately be, and I find that we have not spoken with them yet. And so we really want to have this good neighbor approach before we go in and purchase a property and propose what the final use, what the final housing use is. So I'm still amenable to the idea. I feel like we really need to do some due diligence and look at what that project would ultimately turn out to become. So that's my request to the county manager for deferral.
Madam Chair?
Did that answer your question, Commissioner Benson?
it does answer it. Again, with the ARPA fund, I'm a little sensitive to the timing, but it does answer my question. So
We can come
I'm not,
back.
okay, thank you.
If you'd like. Commissioner Casada?
Yeah, I believe the ARPA funds need to be spent by October, or at least allocated and then spent by the following October. So they have to be allocated by October. So that would cut this pretty close, especially if you're gonna do neighborhood involvement and meetings and those sorts of things. If you're gonna start that process now, I truly believe that you may not be able to do this in time through that process. Not that I'm against the process, I understand the process, but I know for a fact that ARPA funds need to be put in place and in play by October. I don't know the specific date, Madam Chair, but it is October.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Olivas?
I just wanted to correct the record on that. It's actually December of 2024, the funds have to be committed, and they have to be fully spent by December of 2026.
Well, that, they told me from my office that I had to have all my stuff in place by October on where I'm gonna allocate my ARPA funds. So that's where I got that time frame from. So maybe staff could,
Chief Pettis or Shirley's in the audience.
Madam Chair, if I could potentially address that unless Ms. Shirley does. So I'm not sure where the October directive came from. However, in an attempt to evaluate projects with the Opera Core team, we would like to have proposals by October to give that lead time to encumber appropriately. Thank
I
you.
got that too from the stuff we were able to get as commissioners that were here when ARPA was given out. I was asked to have them by this October.
But I would like to say, Commissioner Quesada, point well taken. It's very important that we allocate these funds and that we do it right. And so I think as a good neighbor, the county doesn't want to go in purchasing property without talking to our neighbors and understanding fully what the ramifications of, a public purchase and where we're heading with it. So that's the intent here.
100% agree. I just worry that, I was just worried that I didn't want to lose the funds on a project that we all know affordable housing is probably our number one, should be one of our number one priorities.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any, Commissioner Barboa?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Just to the capital infrastructure, capital improvement plan, I was just able to meet with our new, I don't even know the title, Chief of Government Affairs, Kathy Court, and I'm excited about her leadership. And I know, I guess I believe we all had recent conversations with the lobbyist for the paid lobbyists for the county, and they asked for us to sort of slim down our request, focus them so that we can be pointed with. So I think, in my view, I see this as an opportunity. I hope Kathy Court feels the same, that this is an opportunity to really clear up that list, get priorities, and make some effective ways that our lobbyists can lobby for those funds in the legislature. That was my take on it, what reason why I support it too, Commissioner Benson, just to mention that.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on the proposed changes to the agenda?
Madam Chair, one last
Commissioner
question.
Benson? Yes.
Will this be a vote on all three changes?
My proposal is approval of all of those changes to the agenda.
Okay.
Second?
Any discussion further? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
And that passes. Thank you very much. So I have a couple of statements from closed meetings that we had prior to this meeting. I offer the following statement regarding the closed litigation meeting held Tuesday, August 22nd, 2023 at 2:30. Only those items described on the published notice and agenda for the closed meeting held on August 22nd, 2023 were discussed at the closed meeting. I need a motion for approval of this statement, and it will become part of the minutes of this meeting.
Motion for approval?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, that's it. Thank you. Closed meeting statement number 2. I move that the Bernalillo County Attorney and County Manager be authorized to proceed with the matters discussed in the closed meeting held on Tuesday, August 22nd, 2023, within the parameters set by the Commission to include negotiating and accepting the proposed settlement agreement with PNM. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. And that passes. We move on to agenda item number 4, proclamations. Commissioner Benson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Okay, this is an honor. Would the family of Trevor Flint please come up to the podium? Family and friends. So I've got this is an honor for me. I never met Trevor Flint, but I've heard great things about him. And there was recently actually a hockey tournament honoring him and raising money for the local hockey youth and adult hockey teams in Albuquerque. And they are still raising money. I posted the link to my Facebook page earlier today, and so you can go check that out if you're so moved to give. But I'd like to read an acknowledgement that we've prepared. The Bernalillo County Board of Commissioners does hereby acknowledge Trevor Flint, acknowledging Trevor Flint, a leader in the New Mexico hockey community, and acknowledging that as the Chief Operating Officer and General Manager at the Outpost Ice Arena, Trevor worked to ensure the success and growth of hockey in the region, and acknowledging his dedication to volunteering in order to support hockey families with his time and talents, and acknowledging his support of youth hockey, the men's league, and the NAHL team, and acknowledging his philosophy that he taught his players to not only excel on the ice, but to also be compassionate and outstanding individuals, and acknowledging his bravery and service to his country during his 27-year career in the United States Air Force, and acknowledging the love he provided his family as a husband to his wife, Deanna, and 2 sons, Davis and Will. Now therefore be it resolved that the Bernalillo County Board of Commissioners posthumously honors Trevor Flint for his contributions to his country and to New Mexico, done this 22nd day of August, 2023 in Bernalillo County, State of New Mexico, presented this day, August 22nd, 2023. Thank you so much. And I know these are very difficult and beautiful at the same time. But a good friend of mine, Tina Tomlin, is here, and I'll let you start, and feel free, anybody else who wants to speak, please do.
Pardon me, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, Board of Commissioners, and Commissioner Benson. heartily and humbly stand beside Mrs. Deanna Flint, along with Davis and Will. The Flint family would like to express their deepest gratitude for the formal acknowledgement of Trevor Flint, a remarkable individual whose presence left an indelible mark on many, many lives and our community as a whole. Your heartfelt recognition of Trevor's contribution brings comfort to our hearts during this time of reflection. Trevor was a devoted family man, spending countless hours watching his boys and their teams practice or compete. His unwavering support and presence were a source of inspiration to all who knew him and shared his passion for nature, sports, community, and country. Trevor did commit himself to growing the game of hockey in New Mexico, as you expressed, and was very well loved in our community up at the Outpost Ice Arena. I think that I wanted to just say that we benefited from his love and support, and I thank you all so much for taking the time to recognize him. Although he has left this world, Trevor's memory lives in our hearts. We are immensely grateful for the opportunity to celebrate his life and his impact on this community. Thank you once again for honoring Trevor Flint and for recognizing the enduring legacy that he leaves behind. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, well, we have a plaque here, and if you'd like one, we can take a picture.
Sure.
Great, great. And I just want to say, my heart goes out to you. Yeah. Thank you for being here.
Around,
Come on up.
all the way up, right here? Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you.
I now have a certificate of recognition, and I'd like to invite longtime public defender Sydney Sanchez up to the podium. Hi, Sydney. This is a certificate of recognition given to Sydney Sanchez, New Mexico Law Offices of the Public Defender, Deputy Chief Public Defender, for your hard work and commitment to indigent defense to which you have dedicated your entire legal career, currently as the Deputy Chief with the New Mexico Law Office of the Public Defender. We now recognize your recent elected success as the President of the National Association of Public Defense, the first woman and the first Latina to be elected to this position. This national professional organization serves more than 30,000 public defenders and is a key voice in the advocacy for public defense, policy, and reform. Thank you for your public service to Bernalillo County and the legal community. Presented this day, August 22nd, 2023. Presented by the Bernalillo County Commission. Thank you, Sydney. Would you like to say a few words?
Madam Chair, Commissioners, thank you very much is what I want to start with. You've heard I'm a lawyer, so I promise I will keep it short, although we hear lawyers don't tend to do that. But I am very proud to have dedicated my entire career to representing in public defense. Not many people do it, but it is incredibly rewarding and has really brought me a lot of joy. And I wanted to thank you all very much, because this is not just a recognition for me, I think, but certainly for our 480 employees across the state. We are a statewide agency. We not only provide legal representation to our clients, but we also provide holistic representation, which I think is important for everybody to know. So we work to not only help our clients address the legal matters, but any underlying issues that have brought them into contact with the legal system, which can be, as you know, mental health issues, addiction, there's a whole host. So I very much want to thank you for this recognition. I am humbled. But I also want to thank Bernalillo County, because we have had a lot of partnerships between the law offices of the public defender and Bernalillo County, at least in my mind, for at least 12 to 15 years, we've worked together to provide attorneys, not only in our probation violations in that courtroom, but also for weekend arraignments. So thank you for your support. That has helped us provide better representation for our clients. Then I'll get emotional, but I am here with my parents and my very lovely sister Kelly Sanchez and Bill and Jeanette Sanchez. So I want to thank you all, but I of course want to thank them. I certainly wouldn't be standing here without their support. So thank you very much.
We'd like you and your family to come up and accept your certificate, and we'll take a little picture too. Congratulations.
Nice. Hey, Mama.
Get everybody in there.
One, two, three. Okay.
Okay, thank you. And now, Commissioner Quesada.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, if I could get Cheyenne and if I could get Bill up here and along with, sorry, give me 1 second. I'm getting there. I used to be more organized. Oh, and Isabel up here. So I think a lot of us have heard in the news about this really great book called South Valley. And it meant a lot to me to see that. It's such a very positive kind of look of who we are in the South Valley and the kind of people that live in the South Valley, and how I think we always get kind of a bad rap, but I think that we had some really great creative people kind of tell a story about the really great things of who we are in the South Valley. And on top of it, you know, it's art. And for me as an artist, you know, art is the way we change people's minds, tell the stories of our community and our culture. And so when I saw this, it meant a lot to me. And it's taken me a while to get y'all here for me to recognize your work and the work that I think is crucial, that people should go out and buy this book and learn a little bit about who we are in the South Valley, because historically the South Valley is how the rest of the city was built. You know, we were here first, and you know, one of the first communities here, which was the catapult to the growth of the city of Albuquerque. And the South Valley is still the largest, and I know a commissioner here will disagree with me, but population-wise, we are pretty much 10-1 to anybody else who's in the unincorporated area of Bernalillo County. So we're the largest, we're the biggest, we're the most populated. And we want to just make sure that we're celebrated. And for Cheyenne and Isa to create this, and with everybody else involved, you know, I'm just so honored to do this today. So I'll start off by reading the recognition, all right? And then, and hopefully you'll say a few words, okay? So this one will go to Cheyenne and also to Isabel James. For your work in documenting the beauty and uniqueness of the South Valley. Cheyenne and Isabel, you have dedicated many months to this labor of love, your book, South Valley. This publication aims to change stereotypical perceptions of Bernalillo County, South Valley, where you grew up. You have accomplished this task through a coalition of poetry and artwork, which is heartfelt tributes to this area's unique cultural richness and diversity. You have shown that spotlighting the beauty of a place that has the ability to change negative perceptions. Your involvement from the book inception all the way to the printing presses has been inspirational to showing that you can make your dreams come true, no matter your age. Thank you for your dedication to Bernalillo County, presented this day, August 22nd, 2023, signed by all the commissioners. And I really want to thank also Bill, who I've worked with his wife in the past as an actor. He's a great artist. You got to buy the book. So I'm going to promote this right now. So everybody in the audience, please go out, purchase this book, support artists and creators from Bernalillo County in the state of New Mexico. Cheyenne, if you would, please.
Thank you, County Commissioner Quezada and other Bernalillo County Commissioners for this honor and recognition. We love the South Valley with all its history, community, and culture. It's been a wonderful experience to bring voices of the youth poets and local artists to the greater community as a gift to the appreciation of the South Valley. We challenge you as our community leaders and our representatives to continue working towards improving our South Valley, building safe roadways with sidewalks and street lights, smart develops and support small businesses, and sustainability that both preserve and enriches the land and culture of the South Valley. Again, in partnership, we thank you for the work and the promise of the future of the South Valley. I want to thank everyone who was involved in this book, especially all the parents and the youth poets, and most of all you guys for appreciating everything that we've done. So thank you.
Thank you. So I've got some yeah, come on up.
I want to say, I think something we should all take away from this. I'm old enough to be these kids' great-grandfather.
Yeah.
And the fact that they came to me and said, we want to use the word, I think is something that we all can learn from. These young kids are fantastic. Thank you.
They are.
Where can you purchase the book?
Yeah, where can I get the book, Cheyenne?
We sell down at the farmer's market
Yeah.
on Bridge. We just got a reorder, so we are fresh and we have a bunch of new books.
Yes.
Oh, I don't have my phone, but we also have an Instagram,
Okay.
South Valley Book.
South Valley Book on Instagram. All right. And she's talking about the farmer's market at Dolores Huerta Park that we do on Fridays. And if you haven't gone there, this is a good opportunity to come check out the South Valley and how enriching culturally and how awesome we are in the South Valley. And then you can buy a book as well. So if you would like to come up, I have some certificates for both you and Isabella, and take a picture with us. Bill?
Do we clap for?
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm good. I'm good at the end.
good.
That's okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, we are going to move on to public comment and communications, but before we hear public comment, we will hear communication item 6A and 6B. So item 6A is the Behavioral Health System Implementation Plan outline, and this is a presentation of the Behavioral Health System Working Group recommendations. Bryce Pittenger and Kate Gibbons are here to present, and I would like to thank you in advance for this good work. And this is a synopsis of 6 months of effort from a very strong working group of professionals and providers in behavioral health that are helping the county move forward in the productive and good work that we do for those in need in behavioral and mental health in the community. So thank you. Go ahead, Bryce.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, and Board of Commissioners. My name is Bryce Pittenger. I've been working in the field of behavioral health and living here in Bernalillo County for 25 years, behavioral health, 30 years, Bernalillo County. And this is my partner, Dr. Kate Gibbons, who also lives in the South Valley, and that brought a tear to her eye. And so that was hard, that's going to be a hard act to follow. So we are just going to give you a brief update on, I think you've been briefed on the work of the task force that you all commissioned to create priorities for transforming your behavioral health system of care. Before I begin, I just want to say that I just came off a stint of working for the state for 10 years, and it is a breath of fresh air to work with you all and to be nimble and to see the evolution of what you've created with this gross receipts tax and what it has now grown beyond and where it can go. So that said, I'm just going to dive in and talk to you about our model. So if we're looking at building a genuine system of care, which was the overall recommendation, when you all started the gross receipts tax, you immediately started getting money out to service providers and providing services, and that was appropriate. One of the folks that I've been interviewing and working with recently, as we've been digging into this, said it was kind of like we were in a tent or in the yard. And so the idea is, how do we build a house? How do we build an infrastructure that can support all the work that you do with your 38 million gross receipts, as well as big farm dollars, opioid dollars, FEMA dollars, CARES dollars, whatever comes your way, whatever the opportunities are, special appropriations, capital outlay. How do we build a house that can support the activity in the house that will change based on the needs of our residents? So the base or the foundation is about cooperative partnerships. And so cooperative partnerships, you all have already sort of been out in front with this and taken the first step, I believe it was March 2023, with internal MOUs and data sharing agreements with Albuquerque Fire, with BCSO, with MDC, with CARES Campus. And so the first step of really creating that cooperative partnership is internal. So you're poised and ready to go, and I know you all are already doing some of the external partnerships. So some of what we're going to do is kind of map those, what's the status, so you all can then start to make some decisions about where you're going to go next. So the next step is external. And the base is that we all have, and please forgive the vernacular, but we have skin in the game. This is important to all of us. And so you will, once you find this house structure that you're building, you can invite everybody in, and I think there's going to be people knocking at your door. So the first, the scaffolding or the framework, because you know you can't stand up walls without a framework or scaffolding, is a management information system. And your IT department at county is well on its way with identifying what those needs are, and is either going to move in two different directions with an RFP coming out soon, so a procurement for a vendor or a vendor that's already selected and they're working with. So more to come on that. But right now, that's a key priority. So we're digging in. We're having presentations next week. Very exciting with RS21. We've already met with the IT department extensively and understand what their needs are if they were to procure or which way you all decide to go. The important piece about an MIS system is not only is it a financial payer system that has a live burn rate, so increases fiscal transparency, and we're talking to the moment, could be. Also, it's a case management system. Case management not in terms of a person helping another person, but it collects data. It collects data about the people we serve. It collects data about the providers we're giving our money to. And so we can develop both a public-facing and an internal-facing dashboard to understand where we're growing, what we need, where the services are being delivered and to who, and where the gaps are. So it comes with some built-in benefits as far as being able to collect and report out significant data for your decision-making. The infrastructure are the walls. The walls of the house are the internal systems and processes. This is evolutionary. Bernalillo County already has some amazing structures, some amazing people working. And because of the growth, they've committed to looking internally at their protocols and their processes and seeing what they could improve to enhance their reach and enhance the public's expectation of what they are here to be a part of delivering. So this includes the financial management, all funding streams. One of the things we're doing is mapping all the funding streams and all the opportunities that you may all have to bring in some dollars and combine and braid and blend some dollars. So again, all these things will be put back for decision-making for the county. And then creating, you already have a quality assurance structure. Quality assurance is really important because it allows you to review data and allows you to say, how are we actually doing? Instead of just numbers of appointments and providers and numbers of people served, are their lives getting better? Is it working? Are the services that we're providing working? And so creating some evaluative measures through some of this lens of the data collection and through a practice framework, which we will present to Bernalillo County and they will decide. And then the advisory council. One of the things that's been so progressive about Bernalillo County and their commitment to be public facing and to involve the public and people with lived experience and stakeholders from UNM, from city, from everywhere, everybody at the table. It's been a round table, literally. And so that advisory council will continue, but we're going to do some codifying of how does someone get to the advisory council? And then once they're in the advisory council, how does a review committee get created? So pretend you want to do a special population about people that are unhoused, then the advisory council can create that review committee and they could be task and time oriented and get back to you report in terms of, those key areas of that particular target population and what their recommendations are. So again, a key part of not having this just be top-down government decision-making is involving people in the community, people with lived experience and those stakeholders. And then finally, protocols, so codifying some of what we're talking about. The service model is the roof, and you can see this as sort of a Venn diagram, that health, and that's physical health and behavioral health, meaningful activity and basic needs, or some people call those social determinants of health, those overlap every single population. And so you all have had a concerted, heartfelt intent to impact the justice-involved population. These are their needs as well. You all have had a concerted, heartfelt intent to impact the unhoused population, and these are their concerns as well. So this is a model that can be flexible enough. It doesn't matter what the population that you all choose to focus on and to create service delivery mechanisms around, that this model will persist and be able to identify those key spots. One other piece of the service model is really being able to navigate. We've had some great meetings already with some folks that have created navigation models, some of which I used actually at Hogatis when I was there 10 years ago, Pathways with UNM. So we're looking at how do we take that, those ideas of a navigation model and being able to pay for outcomes and not string providers along. So not waiting until they hit an outcome and holding back 80% of their funding, but somehow going in a parallel process together. And that message is really clear. Providers are a huge part of the infrastructure. They are absolutely who we need. We need to lift up and empower them. And we also need to expect that if they're going to be working in some of these areas, that they're going to be working collaboratively, that they're going to be collecting the data that we ask them to collect, that they're going to be transparent with the use of those funds. So the navigation is another important piece of that. And then access, instead of no wrong door, which is what we started saying in the subcommittee and the BHI task force, we decided to flip it to the positive and talk about all doors open. I know from living in this community that I've had people that have fallen asleep overnight beneath my kitchen window. I know from living in this community that if I walk my dogs down the street, I may run into somebody who is in crisis. I know multi-gen centers, I know senior centers, I know schools and school-based health centers. I know that these are places that we can look at leveraging, that people come into these access points. So first, we're going to map those access points, and city is a part of that as well, and some of the state social service offices, and see what's missing. And then look at the contracts. Are the contracts meeting the need? So that means that if we're looking at street outreach, how many street outreach contracts do we have, and how well are they doing? If we're looking at a CIT crisis response, mobile response, where are those calls coming in, and what do we need in that particular area to sort of offset the use of first responders? So the idea is mapping and then being able to present to you all where those strong spots are that we can learn from, those champions in the community that do a fabulous job at welcoming people into their treatment facilities or agencies, and how we can all learn from that. And promotion of pathways. So how does someone get into the house, whether they're a volunteer and want to be on the advisory council, or they're a resident and just care, or if they're a resident and they need the services. So part of this idea is that there would be literally an open house, virtually, and some site specific, and redo some of what you already have in hand, which is your Bernalillo County app. That has some information about behavioral health. We can link that to a platform, a United portal, like Unite Us is one that Santa Fe County and City just went with, and Las Cruces, for example. And that's part of what we're going to be exploring, buying into a public-facing portal where we can collect all the information about the services that are out there. And you and me as members of the public, as all of us do, there's, some people say 6 degrees of separation. I think in this world, there's 4 degrees of separation with behavioral health and substance use. All of us have either experienced it or have somebody that we love that does experience it. So we need to be able to have those resources at hand when we need them. And that kind of unified platform, I know City of Albuquerque is invested in that. And can partner with you all. And so that would be the public-facing way to be able to navigate. So some promotional pieces. And then finally, and thank you for your patience, the activity inside the house. So the activity inside the house is about the services, the volunteering, the BH functions like the quality assurance, you all being able to get data before your commission meetings to be able to say, I think our ARPA money needs to go here because this is the rules engines of that money, and this is where we need it. And you can, you will be able, hopefully, in the end, once this is all up and running and there's a house, you will be able to utilize that, and we can invite other people in, other funders, and other vendors and other providers. So, the only thing that I would say in addition to this is that strategic planning is a really helpful element, helpful tool, and I think we all probably do it a little too much sometimes in terms of just needs and gaps and what are we doing and let's revamp everything. You guys have something very solid here with these recommendations and with the work that's already been done. That said, with this, with this idea of a triennial sort of needs and gaps or a strategic planning to just sort of say, okay, let's gauge the public. Are we hitting the right spots here? Do we need to shift, some of our funding? Next cycle that you do decide to do that, consider, sort of putting in that strategic planning process, a vision, a mission, and some values. And that's what we call a practice model. You only have to do it really one time. So, so thank you so much for the opportunity to brief you, and I'm happy to stand for questions. So is Kate.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate your work and the good work of the working group. Any questions, commissioners? No. Please, you do? Yes, of course you do.
I know, you know I do. Sorry, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair and other commissioners. Thank you so much, Bryce and Kate. And I saw your name, Chief Change Agent. I love that title. I want to be a Chief Change Agent. But thank you so much for your hard work and quick work on this. I know we're under pressure, and I'm glad we're going to have your expertise at the table to really build this out. I'm thankful for a framework and there's just the transparency period. So thank you for bringing this forward. I think for me, the piece around transform our system of care and that this is an evolution. Like I often think we have done so much at the county that we should be proud of. We've already started to build so many things and this is the next evolution of how we can move the work. I guess my first question, so the data, you start with the data pieces as almost like the management information system. So I guess this might be actually a question for Chief or maybe Julianne, but that we are, you mentioned that we may go with the process for an RFP or work with a vendor we've been selected in. Might be question for everybody, but my question is that if we are, I'm really concerned because I've been in data exchanges for just small organizations, much less large ones, and they're huge undertaking, right? So I am both trying to look at our needs right now, but think of our needs ahead in connection. When we think about data, is we want to be able to connect, not only, we definitely need to start with connecting to ourselves between MDC, Resource Reentry Center, CARES Campus, Tiny, but like, that's where we start, as you say in here, and we need a system that can carry those and we can practice on it. But I want us to be looking into the near future as well, where we're actually sharing with the city and other entities, other counties across our state. So I guess in this recommendation, you said there's two options.
Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, thank you. And I will, John Peralta, maybe he was here, right? And so there's tons of pieces that you already create. There's some navigation mapping with an organization called RS21. Seems fantastic. What I'm talking about is a system to create financial payer transparency and data collection of individuals and providers, slightly providers, but more individuals to be able to utilize that data. That's a specific sort of part of the pie, small in comparison with your larger vision of a data governance. Okay. And so that it may be that both are true. It may be that, RS21 could take sort of a sandbox or a back-end data integration and pull a lot of sources in and analyze. This particular discrete system that I'm talking about, management information system, would be really just about your money. And it would be about, setting up buckets of money with different rules engines and being able to have services associated with that. So, for example, somebody to outreach to providers to enroll them in the system, for you all to be able to push the button to say, pretend I'm a provider and I invoice you for $20,000 because I've completed my work. Well, your program manager, who works at Bernalillo County, would be able to verify, did Bryce actually complete her work? Where is it? Because there's an invoice upload that I looked and it wasn't there. So I'm not going to push that button. And I'm going to tell the system to reach back to that person. So it's that level of stuff that doesn't have to all be brought in-house. I know the county has huge aims for the giant data platform, and that to be an integrated system that you all own, and that makes total sense to me. This is a particular piece of the pie, which has to do with collecting information about the people we serve, and it has to do about that financial payer. So it could be both.
So, Madam Chair, Commissioner Bobo, we are actively working on the system that you referenced, one that ties all agencies in together so that we can see the information. So once someone starts to cycle through the system, all of us can start to pick up on that and make sure that we're directing them into the right area. I think what Bryce is referencing is more in-house and how do we keep track of all of our different agreements that we have with some of the nonprofits and such that are out there, making sure that we're actually getting the best bang for the buck as we're spending it with each of those respective agencies, I believe is where you're going with that one. So it will probably be most likely two separate systems, one that's kind of internal for our needs and one that is more external for the needs of everybody that we partner with. Julie, I don't know if you want to add to that.
No, that's correct. And Pam, our senior BHI manager, is working with IT currently on a small-scale dashboard for the external piece of this. And then RS-21 is for the internal data.
And then, thank you, if I may, thank you, Madam Chair. And so that, or also, thank you, that was clarity around this. And that also brings me to my other point, which a lot of what I listened in a lot on the work group. And a lot of what, actually, I think it was you, Bryce, that Dr. Pitt, that was talking about like how much we're leaving at the table by not doing Medicaid billing. Is that, I mean, I know this is a framework and you're not getting into the weeds and the grass and the trees and but is there anything to say about what you've maybe learned or come across around our Medicaid billing opportunities?
Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, excellent question. And I think, Julianne, and if you don't know right now where the status of that is, we can get back with you and clarify, but that is a huge strategy. For a county to not just become a Medicaid provider, but to create a hub around the other Medicaid providers. You will grow not just, county-wise, but you will grow in number of people that are supported by county. It's difficult to become a Medicaid provider.
Yes.
And so being able to, sort of be out in front and transition those services that, yes, like you're saying, the grocery receipts dollars are going now to Medicaid and leveraging that match from both the state and the feds, that's a win. But also being able to be a hub and supporting providers to become Medicaid providers, to not be the one and only solution, is also a win.
Yes, and I think I just want to follow up. I know I talk a lot, but so many of our providers, there's been this push-pull between like, okay, we've given you some money, you should go fly, little birdie, right? But there's not many other places to receive funding for this, right? Other than there's not big pools of money out there other than government funding, and our support to be able to have that's sort of critical to the future. I'm a saying. Would you agree?
Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, I would agree. I do think there is other funding out there. And one of the things that I'd like to do for you all is map the cadence of what that looks like. When do you apply for capital outlay? When do you apply for special appropriation? Is there an appetite for it? Opioid dollars are on everyone's minds. You all get a lot of dollars coming in. And so being able to, and I know there's been some movement there, but being able to identify what's the state going to pick up. Is Department of Health, going to provide safety net offices for medication-assisted treatment? Mobile units, what's the state going to pick up? What are you all going to pick up? And then what quality is? We've already had some money spent on Narcan that wasn't that great, but you all have expertise in-house. So I don't think that would necessarily be the case. So those ideas of yes, it's generally publicly funded, but there definitely are some other funding streams that could be available to enhance and support what y'all are doing.
Thank you. That's so great for me to learn. I just have a couple more things. I just wanted to note that when you talk about the service model and the social determinants of health, I really appreciate that you're talking about a person or family. What I've heard in this conversation, right, is that our families are the ones that are holding really the biggest behavioral health providers without any expertise or resources. They're holding their family members through the disease of addiction and through often all the struggles that come with that. And so I think if I can plug in that for your future recommendations, like service models that include the whole family, please. That's my 2 cents. And last, I want to thank you so much for this All Doors Open. And I was talking this morning with Dr. Weiss, who is also on the program, and we were talking about how we've decreased the number of folks we've turned away at that we're getting turned away at our CARES campus, and definitely talking with Dr. Zadonis about how we decreased the number of folks turned away from that center. And I think that, as I also plead to you, and as you're building this model and direction for our county, is how we think about how we don't have easy exits. There's been lots of reasons where we may bring in somebody, but then for some reason we're turning them. And I said the county, the city, and the university all have to sort of face why and how are we turning people away, and what can we do so that's not, if we can't be the ones because of some reason, then what's the next step? And I think Chief Pettis has taken the lead on doing so much better now for the county around that, but I want that to be in the model, I guess, in my 2 cents as well. I don't know if there's anything else about the like easy exit or how we sort of create, to me, this is about a system that can pick up each other. So when we're not able to hand off, we need to be able to hand off between these systems that exist.
Yes, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, I want to bring us back to the service model that is really meant to be a lens or a framework to guide us. So that as, what I thought through was, as each person moves through different parts of life, that those are the 3 things that are really needed. And that with that, we could then pull in what are the actual service models and treatment models that best fit for each time. And it also is a way for us to organize data to help inform where do we need to focus next. So if we're seeing families coming through with an emerging new area, the data and this framework would help us identify where to put resources next. And that we would tuck underneath all the different treatment models that are there or might be emerging, and then through funding opportunities, flex where we need to be able to provide, additional support. That was really the kind of our change logic behind that.
Thank you. This is really the last, please.
Okay.
Please keep this up. I just want, under basic needs, you talked about, like, and I guess in the report, there were strong recommendations around housing and sort of outside of what we typically think of direct services for behavioral health. So I guess in this service model opportunity, when we're talking about basic needs, that's where like housing, maybe prevention efforts, other things that the county would be able to participate in.
Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, exactly. And then once we have a platform where we understand even what people are searching for and trying to access, we'll be able to say, this zip code doesn't have enough food banks. It's literally could be on that level. And that would be with Chief Perez and Julianne and some of the work that Robert Benavides and others are doing to integrate some of that information over time. But yes, absolutely, absolutely. And I just want to say about the family piece, that is my pull, that's our orientation, we're systems folks. And I would say that when you lift up a family, you lift up a community. There are ripples, and so that absolutely, the 2-gen approach, we call that, 2-generational approach. We know that an incarcerated parent creates an ACE, an adverse childhood experience for that child. We know that a parent that has alcoholism, that creates an ACE for that child. There are ways to look at low-hanging fruit, maybe that's not the right term, but to mitigate the impacts of that, to utilize prevention. So when you're looking at that opioid money, think about prevention dollars as well, because that's part of what the publicly funded system does not provide a lot of funding for. So thank you.
A family gets lifted up through the community as well.
Yeah.
They need both. They need each other.
Thank you. Yeah. Commissioner Olivas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, Bryce, Kate, I want to thank you for your work, not just on this important piece of work, but your work product in the Behavioral Health Working Group. We have our facilitator, Tim Karpov, and several members of the working group here today as well and with us online. So I just want to recognize again, that was the first act that I sponsored here on the Bernalillo County Commission. And I think it continues to yield dividends here today, as now we're seeing the next steps of that quick action by this commission, and credit to our county manager and all of our folks involved in this for setting this up, making it nimble, and finding great people like yourselves to set this system up. I want to emphasize again the importance here of your report and in the working group report of building this system. We have many pieces of infrastructure out there, both publicly owned and nonprofit owned and private providers that exist, but they are not interconnected. And we have, numbers vary, but we have many providers and very few of them know about the other providers. And I think that's a huge gap in our system that we hear about every day, and it does not serve us well in any way. And so what I see this as is taking this to that next level where we actually have that interconnectedness and we have that ability to follow an individual's path through the system and understand where those barriers to entry are, where those overly quick exits are. And this system is an incredible opportunity for our entire community, for our entire state, frankly, because I think the county has an opportunity here to lead the way in confronting this crisis that we see on our streets. And it is, in my opinion, getting worse before it gets better. But this can put us on the right pathway here to address what is an absolute tragedy in the wealthiest nation on planet Earth, that we have now normalized that individuals experiencing homelessness and behavioral health crisis should experience this on their own in our streets with very few supports. That is not something that we should be accepting as the status quo here and should not be accepted here in my hometown. So I'm just incredibly grateful for this opportunity to lift this system up and move us in the right direction. And I want to put in one last plug here on opioid funding that you've brought up several times. It's a resolution that I've introduced here before the commission, and I think we'll be seeing it come back very soon. We heard some robust discussion about this at the city council last night. I think we are ripe to have those really deep discussions about where that money should go and really do that on a regional level, make that plan, set that plan, and follow through with that to make some transformational investments. So I think we really are at an incredible turning point here to take this from good to great, and I want to thank you for your work on this.
Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Madam
much.
Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Casado.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for the presentation. I think the biggest thing for me is something that I've been working on since I transitioned from a school board member to a county commissioner. And everything that you had talked about stems from school-based health centers. The data that you're looking for, the data that you're trying to get for us to be not only prevention and intervention and really looking at a family as a whole, that takes place there. And I've been pushing that for a long time. I've had the data since I was a school board member on how successful that is to move forward as a community so we talked about ACEs a little bit, right? So if we know now that children can learn at an earlier age, then we also now know that ACEs affects those children at an earlier age. And so that type of what we need to be offering to our community takes place at that level. I know you know about my 2 mobile school-based health units that'll be going out, and I was able to get $800,000 reoccurring funding for it, but that's just a drop in the bucket. My goal when I came here was to have a school-based health center in at least every single elementary school, at the minimum. Was my goal. And I know that was a big, huge goal. The only thing we've come up with was mobile units, but what you've said today makes me feel that, that you're on the right track. And you did mention school-based health centers, and you mentioned all the data that you're looking for that will come from those types of services. So thank you for doing that, and I'm looking forward to the future. Thank you.
Madam Chair, Mr. Quesada, thank you. Thank you so
Thank you
much
for all
for
your
the
work.
opportunity.
Appreciate you very much. I have to give you an applause because that working group and all that you've done is extremely important. And to all the working group who are here today, thank you. Or online. Dr. Weiss is online too. Thank you. Thank you all so much. And we did go on a little longer than intended, but this is obviously such an important issue in our community that we see every day, and we're trying our best. But the only way we're going to be able to do this is bringing the community together and tackling it that way. So thank you. So I will move on to item 5B, American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, Shirley Reagan.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Commissioners. I wanted to take this opportunity to get in front of you. Some of you were here when we first, let me back up. I am Shirley Reagan, Deputy County Manager for Finance, like you guys know who I am, but for the record. But back in 2021, right after the CARES and COVID and all of that, they came out with the American Rescue Plan Act. And because of our population for Bernalillo County, we could receive a direct allocation based on that population. So we received an allocation of $131.9 million. We received it in two tranches, 65 million in 21 and 65 million in 22. What I wanted to first do was say, we have to do this performance report every year. This is really the first year that a lot of the projects have taken off because of bidding and various things that have to go through the process evaluation and all of that. So on the left side of the screen there is our webpage that we have, and we had to establish that as a requirement of receiving the funding for the transparency perspective. So let me take a step back. I want to thank all the commissioners that were here then and you now for supporting us in administering these funds. It's a lot of work. It takes a lot of analysis. There's a lot of criteria, county legal, procurement, public works. And so we've also done some partnerships. So we'll go through some of this, and I have some speakers here to talk about various parts of the report. I left with each of you, you have a copy of the report, and the presentation, you also have a copy of that, and it has page numbers that refer to the report, which has more detail. So not to take too long, I just wanted to let you know, going back to the discussion a little bit earlier about the funds and the request of Commissioner Quesada about the October timeframe. What we're doing right now is we are reviewing where we stand on all projects. We want to make sure, if you know me, I don't like returning money. So we want to make sure that we're in a position to get the money spent and we know what we're doing, and if not, reallocate it to something that we can still meet that December 31, 2024 deadline of having the funds encumbered, and the projects have to be completed by December 31 of 2026. We've been lobbying on the national level to try to get the federal government to extend that time frame because of all of the complications that have come out, supply chain and all those sorts of things. But right now, that deadline has not been extended. So that's why that inquiry was being made, to make sure we're staying on top of the funds and we're moving projects along. This page here just basically shows where most of our money is in the categories. They defined expenditure categories that we had to classify all of our expenditures into. So under infrastructure, you can see that there's about $68 million, which is a little over half of our total allocation. The planned allocation, when you see that, the orange line is when we gave did the work sessions with the commissioners, and we worked on, looked at our CIP, our ICIP, and all of the capital projects, our GeoBond projects, and we looked at those and tried to come together with a list of things that we could finish because we were short of funding. But we also looked at initiatives like in behavioral health and things like that, that we could move programs forward on. The adopted budget are those things that we've come back to you that have been vetted and you approved for the projects to proceed. So that's the difference in those two. The next slide is just a presentation of the dollars, one by expenditure category, one by commission district. And this is where the project may physically reside. Countywide is just kind of more generic and covers the whole county. This is, again, the page, a copy of our report. And what I wanted to say here was that it covers the period from July 1 of 2022 through June 30th of 2023. So basically fiscal 23. And we have to turn it into the Treasury by July 31 of each year. And we also have in the booklet, we have a project inventory section which details all of the projects, has more specifics than what we'll be going through here today. And that starts on page 13. The first person I want to bring up is when we went out, we approached the city of Albuquerque to see if they wanted to partner with their ARPA dollars. They had their own plan. So we approached the Bernalillo County Water Utility Authority, and they had some projects. So we felt like those projects would benefit the citizens of Bernalillo County and Bernalillo County as well, and help us get the money in the right places for the right reasons. So we formed that partnership. We have a core team which consists of all the county folks, and then we formed another team that has all of the county folks, plus the Water Utility Authority folks. They have their accountants, their engineers, everybody that we need to ensure that we are moving the projects forward and covering meeting all the criteria and the guidelines. So what I'd like to do right now is turn it over to David Laughlin, and I'll have him introduce his team and go over some of the projects that they're sponsoring.
County Commissioners, thank you so much. On behalf of the Water Authority, I just want to thank you all for this opportunity to fund some of these important projects. The Water Authority is really appreciative of the funding that you've provided to us, and we've certainly enjoyed and appreciated the opportunity to collaborate so closely with the county and the county staff. It's been a truly enjoyable process for us. I'd like to introduce our Chief Financial Officer, Marta Ortiz. I was going to say, you threw me. Our grant administrator, Luz Carrion, and our asset manager, John Daniels. They're here to support me and hopefully answer any questions that I can't answer. So, thank you all. I'll start by just quickly going through and summarizing some of the projects, talking about the benefits to the county, what those projects entail, and then providing a quick status update on where we're at in terms of design and or bidding and or construction for those projects. And at any point in time, if there's any questions, feel free to let me know and I can stop and answer those for you to the best of my ability. First project that we have is being funded with $3.8 million of ARPA funding, and that's our Carnuel sewage collection system. This will be the first centralized sewage collection system in Carnuel. This project will enable us to provide low-pressure connections for homeowners and residents in Carnuel. And what it ultimately will do is allow for opportunities to eliminate existing residential septic systems and hopefully improve overall shallow groundwater quality in Carnuel, especially considering that there are still a lot of domestic wells that are active in that area. And so really a pretty huge, significant benefit to Carnuel and the community there. This project is in design right now. We should have design completed before the end of the year, and we will be going into bidding and construction in early 2024. The next project is the South Valley Drinking Water Project, phases 8 and 9. This is a project that's been going on for over 10 years. We've worked our way from phase 1 all the way through to now we're at phases 8 and 9, which are the last few phases of this project. It's very exciting. This project will actually bring water supply to residents to the west of Coors Boulevard. All of our work to date has been to the east of Coors Boulevard, so now we'll be bringing that water to those residents that live west of Coors Boulevard, south of Dennis Chavez, and north of I-40. So a very large swath of residents and large portion of the community. So we're very excited about this. This initial $8 million, we will have designed for all 4 packages. There are 4 packages that we're designing for phase 8, and we'll have all 4 of those packages designed by the end of 2023 here. The $8 million will probably fund 1.5 of those packages. And we'll have that design completed by the by December of 2023, and we'll go to bidding in early 2024. Again, with the goal of having this obviously in construction long before the ARPA requirement of December of 2024. $4.2 million of ARPA funds have been applied for the Metropolitan Detention Center water and sewer improvements. This is a project that's going to install a lift station and about a 5-mile force main for the MDC facility. This will provide long-term, reliable sewage collection and delivery for that facility. It will also allow us to decommission the existing aging lagoon system. There's a treatment system out there. We do our best to keep it maintained and operational, but this will really be a game changer in terms of being able to decommission those lagoons. And so this project again is in design right now. We're at 90% design actually. We have separate design packages for the lift station and the force main, and we will have those completed and ready for bidding before the end of the year. For the Kirtland Air Force Base project, this is a project where it's given us an opportunity to complete the rehabilitation of over 3 miles of Tejares interceptor piping that transects Kirtland Air Force Base. Kirtland Air Force Base for a long time has had significant concerns that their critical mission critical projects might be impacted by a failure of our sewer system. And so with this $15 million, we've been able to rehab the remaining interceptor piping on base as well as the manholes. So it's really a huge project. This project has been in construction since late last year, and we will be completed by early 2024. So this project is almost done, about 75% complete. Finally, the $4.9 million Mesa del Sol non-potable reuse booster pump and reservoir project. This is a project where we'll be constructing a reuse pump station and reservoir at the top of the escarpment for the Mesa del Sol area. This project is very important in terms of providing reuse water to be used for irrigation within that community, as well as with the county's new sports complex that's being constructed there. And then finally, this project has taken on significant additional importance recently with the announcement of the Maxion solar facility that's going to be moving into the Mesa del Sol area. We're looking and collaborating with them to potentially provide reuse water for their processed water so that they can use that as opposed to potable water. So potentially some really huge benefits with this project. Design of this will be completed by middle of 2024, summer of 2024, and then we'll move quickly into bidding and construction. The $15 million of ARPA funding has been applied for our Volcano Cliffs arsenic treatment facility. This is a project that'll be about $25 to $30 million. We have additional funding as well, but the ARPA funding is absolutely critical. This project is going to provide 12 to 15 million gallons per day of potable water for the west side. And so in summers when we don't have water in the river, being able to have this additional water resource on the west side is going to be of massive importance to Albuquerque and Bernalillo County, especially considering the amount of growth that's occurring on the west side at this point in time. This project is at 100% design 95% design right now. We're taking comments from NMED Drinking Water Bureau, incorporating those, finalizing that design package, and we should be able to go out to bid and construction on that in September, October of this year. Almost done. We've got $1 million of ARPA funding for Carnuel water system expansion. This is ongoing expansion of the water system in Carnuel that's been ongoing for several years now. And this will allow more Carnuel residents in older parts of Carnuel to access clean potable water by expanding the current water system. $2.8 million of ARPA funding is being used for the Bosque non-potable water reclamation plant and reuse system. This is for planning and preliminary design that we're working on right now. This is for what will ultimately be a satellite treatment plant on the west side that will allow us to provide reuse water for the west side because currently there is no reuse system on the west side, and ultimately will allow us to replace potable water use for irrigation with reuse water. And so a significantly important project, and we're very appreciative of the funds for the continuing planning and design of that project. And then finally, $1 million of ARPA funding was provided for the Tahajli Waterline Extension Project. This project is extremely important. It'll result in about a 9-mile pipeline that will take potable water to the Tahajli residents. They have been, for many years now, reliant on basically one single well. And when that well has gone down, there have been significant challenges associated with their water supply system. And so this will be a game changer for them and their community. And the design is complete on this project as well. We're waiting for our final NMED review, and we should have that in the next week or two. And as soon as we have that in place, we'll be able to move forward with bidding and construction. So that bidding and construction is imminent, and we're moving forward as quickly as possible to get that construction in place and ultimately deliver water to Tahajli. And I believe that is all that I have. I would stand for any questions on these projects that you guys might have.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Introduce Brian Lopez, the Technical Services Director for the Bernalillo County, to complete this.
And gentlemen, thank you, Brian and Shirley. I just want to make sure that we kind of move through. This is so important, and I don't want to belittle it, but we have not even entered into public comment yet. And so we have a long night ahead of us. So we really appreciate your brevity and right to the point. Thanks.
I will do my best.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the commission, good evening. Like Dave said, I'm Brian Lopez. I'm the Technical Services Director for Bernalillo County. I'm going to be providing an update on 4 of the county ARPA projects, so a few less than what Dave went through. 3 of those are county-led projects, and one of those is a public awarded project. If you want to follow along just through some of the brief updates, if you want to go through the report that Shirley put together, I'm going to bounce around a little bit. But the first one that I'm going to discuss is on page 29, the Mesa del Sol Phase 2 project. This is a $2 million county-led project to construct clean water conservation elements for the Schweid-Scholler Regional Complex. There are additional soccer fields that are being constructed out there, but those are with separate funds. The ARPA dollars were only applied to the clean water conservation elements. This project will detain and filter stormwater from the project area and adjacent areas through a series of bioswales and native planted detention ponds, and hopefully become a model for green, low impact design. The project will have a storm drain system that will be able to detain and mitigate pollutants from the stormwater and from adjacent areas, such as parking lots. With the implementation of this project, stormwater system, the need for irrigation will be reduced as a lot of the stormwater flows will be conveyed to the planted vegetation. Urban heat island effect will be mitigated somewhat with this project due to shade from the trees and other vegetation. And also, kind of one of the big ones is the volatile organic compounds produced by motor vehicles and parking lots will be mitigated with the use of the bioswales. Anytime there's a storm, what we call the first flush, which is usually within the first 5 minutes, if it's a light rain, you'll kind of see in parking lots where you'll kind of see the water puddles and there's got that sheen to them with the oils and just other pollutants that are present. Those will go to the bioswales and those actually build up bacteria that feed off of that stuff. So, that's kind of one of the good features of that particular project. They're currently more than 50% complete with that project with the bioswales, and they did construct one of the parking lots at the request of Live Nation. And overall, this project benefits all the residents and businesses of all the commission districts. The next project I'm going to discuss is on page 25. It's the MDC Lagoon Decommissioning and Sewer Connection Project, which I'm glad David didn't take all my thunder on that one. We are working closely with the utility authority. As Dave mentioned, they're constructing the force main and the lift station. We at the county are doing a $2.3 million project to decommission the existing lagoon. Just with the amount of biological load that gets to that lagoon, it's rather difficult to manage. And so with going to the lift station, we're working to decommission the existing lagoon, but we're also gonna be building an emergency holding cell, so if something happens to the lift station, MDC can continue to operate without any impacts to the facility. This ARPA project, the $2.3 million, is being used to cover all the cost of labor, equipment, fees, permits, and other related costs necessary to the work. One of the advantages to having it, having the lift station in the force main is now this effluent will be conveyed to the wastewater treatment plant, where then it can be used as reused for either irrigation or discharge ultimately into the river. On this project, we're currently in about 30% design. We are kind of dependent on the utility authority's project as how this one progresses, but we will make up some additional time on this one, and ultimately the goal is to have this project ready for obligation by the December 31st, 2024 deadline. Next project is on page 26. It's the Upper La Cueva watershed. This is a $5 million county-led project where we're gonna be doing a study, design, and construct improvements to the Upper La Cueva watershed in North Albuquerque Acres. It's actually made up of 4 different watersheds. These watersheds, or the goal of the project will be to address non-point sources of pollution using regional ponds and to detain runoff in the watershed, and ultimately to reduce some of the peak flows, the 100-year peak flows, and help kind of convey some of that flooding back to the historic flow paths. This project will reduce in the flooding potential in North Albuquerque Acres, which is actually a little bit higher than what us in AMAFCO would like at this moment. Once fully implemented, these improvements will aid in the reduction, like I said, of downstream flooding, but also sediment and pollutant flows. We have a lot of low water crossings along the roadways in that area, so every time there is a storm, a lot of that sediment transport ends up getting deposited within the roadways, and so then that means operations and maintenance has to go over there and start cleaning off the roadways. So with shrinking those flow paths and addressing some of that sediment control, that will also help with some of our capital costs at the county by not having to have O&M continually performing maintenance after every storm in that area. The study phase for this project just began in June of this year. The consultant has completed the survey and they have gathered all the hydraulic data. And now that hydraulic data is being incorporated into hydraulic models that'll be used to complete the study and help develop design options as we continue to move forward. This project, as the other one, is on schedule to be obligated for some form of construction by December 31st of 2024.
Great.
Last but not least is the Sandia Peak Utilities and Service Line Replacement Project. This one is one of the public award projects that the county granted. This is a $3.3 million project awarded to Sandia Peak Utilities under Category 5, which was infrastructure drinking water. Sandia Peak is going through currently right now and replacing a lot of their existing PVC and copper water service lines, as well as looking to replace approximately 2,500 mechanical meters with new automatic measuring and automatic reading meters. This will allow Sandia Peak to establish a reliable water use map, essentially, as these meters are continually reporting back to a computer. And so what this allows is if there is a leak at a resident or within a particular area, they can actually kind of pinpoint where that leak is. And rather than waiting for the mud or the puddles to show up, you can actually see it through the computer software that monitors this. The estimates right now is once this system is implemented, it'll allow Sandia Peak to save approximately 17 million gallons of water per year. And in addition to the water being saved, it'll also increase energy efficiency with their well not having to essentially pump to areas where there's actually leaks. And then also they'll reduce pollution by not having vehicles having to actually go out and physically read meters or try to troubleshoot where there's leaks, because they'll be able to better identify where those areas are due to this project. And with that, I can stand for any questions that you may all have.
Any questions? See none?
I know we're short of time,
Surely to
so
close?
I wasn't going to go into everything on this slide, but these are some of the initiatives that are non-capital. And although there is a capital component in some of the behavioral health. So instead of using behavioral health gross receipts tax fund balance, we used ARPA because it met that criteria. And then that would allow us to save and put that money somewhere else. We did premium pay. We have finished 3 projects. We had one that we provided economic relief where they made payments, $1,800 payments to up together, let me just say this real quickly. $1.8 million, they made 1,800 payments of $1,000 for people to work with their household. And this was one of Commissioner Barboa's initiatives and nonprofits that she backed, and they were real good to work with. And they started under the city, but the city didn't cover the unincorporated areas, so they had a listing of folks, and we were able to put that money in and give those first priority and then finish that up. We also did the private sector grant, premium pay grants, which Economic Development, Marcos and his team are administering that to businesses and their employees. Treasury, because they lifted the emergency order, you can no longer pay premium pay after April the 10th, 2023. We also did premium pay for Bernalillo County employees. We had 2,200 employees, mostly union, all of the union employees and the non-union. The county manager, the county attorney, and the deputy county managers chose not to participate in the program so that we could allot more money to employees. With that, wrap up, if you have any questions, if you need any briefings on any other projects, feel free to give me a call or one of us a call. We meet with the Water Utility Authority monthly. We meet twice a month on the core team, and we continually analyze and work through the projects and try to understand where we are, making sure that we make the best use of the county's, entrusting the county with that money, making the best use to benefit the citizens of Bernalillo County, and do all the reporting, because there's a lot of data reporting you have to, on some of these, what race they are, what ethnic group, how much they make, how it's benefiting, and you can see when they were presenting that there's a lot of benefit to a lot of folks and to come out of from an economic recovery standpoint. So thank you for your time. I just wanted to take that time I send you this all the time, but sometimes it's just nicer to put some faces and put some things in the context. So thank you very much for the
Shirley.
opportunity.
Thank you so much for your thorough report. We really appreciate you and all your staff. Commissioner Benson?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Water Authority. Thank you, Ms. Reagan, as well. But thank you, Water Authority, for being here and for your teamwork and working together to benefit the whole community. I think it's a good example of what we would like to do more, but just there's not the will, and you guys had it. So thank you.
Any other comments?
Just thank you, and thank you for this great report. Thorough.
Thank you very much. Great, and so now we do move on to, we do move on to public comment, and we have, I believe Julianne says we have 4 people signed up, and you will be given 2 minutes, and please start by stating your name. Julianne, can you call the?
Okay, we will start off with Mr. Gerardo Di Sionello, followed by Joshua James Lawrence, followed by Ramona Goolsby.
Right. I didn't realize I was the first one, so thank you. Good evening, Madam Chair and County Commissioners. My name is Geraldo Cunello. I am an alternative health doctor. Remember the Pledge of Allegiance, one nation under God. And I want to quote our Constitution, was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate for the government of any other, end quote. That was John Adams, our founding father and second president of the United States. What legacy do you want to leave your family, community, and county? Please forgive me in advance, and I want to quote some inappropriate sexual questions from the New Mexico Department of Health. Just Adolescent Health Survey, would you teach this to your children or grandchildren? Here it is. What kinds of sex have you had in the past year? Vaginal sex, penis in vagina, receptive anal sex, partner's penis in your anus. This is really grotesque. Insensitive anal sex, your penis in your partner's anus. Give oral sex, your mouth or partner's in genitals. Receive oral sex, partner's mouth on your genitals. Did you know these promote pedophile, human sex trafficking? If you haven't watched that movie yet, Sound of Freedom, and I would encourage you guys to do that. And then also increase or promote more crimes, suicide rates, and sick care, not health care. What does the 14th Amendment say? No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. Are you, as our county commissioners, depriving our children of life,
Thank
liberty,
you, sir.
and property?
Time's up.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Joshua James Lawrence, followed by Ramona Goolsby, followed by Larry Leja or Leja.
Hello, Joshua James, Bernalillo County. There's a lot of things I'd like to talk about, and 2 minutes just isn't enough time to talk about them. I'd like to start off with something I just recently found out from some local whistleblowers in your health department. During the lockdowns, when the jab centers were set up across the city and the county, they were not requiring IDs to get the vax, to get the gene therapy. And I found out from these whistleblowers that people, because you guys were offering $100 and all these free gifts to get the jab, that people were going to multiple locations in the same day and getting shots. People were getting up to 7 shots a day, give or take. This was happening. And people will die as a result of this if they haven't already. And I just want you to know that you are all complicit in that. That falls on you. It falls on our city councilors and our mayor and our governor, among many others complicit in those crimes. Also, we just got back from Mike Lindell's election integrity event in Springfield, Missouri. We're working with people all over this country, lawyers, elected officials, and many more. And there are a lot of states that are now filing RICO and racketeering charges against their county commissioners and against their governor and many others, because the number one issue with our elections, I'm sure you would all agree that your vote is your one vote. But the software that is used for our elections turns our one vote into a percentage.
Thank you, sir. Your
maybe
time is
negative, maybe positive.
Thank you, sir.
And that's not okay, because our one vote.
Thank you, sir. Your time is up. We're going to have to go to the next person.
In order to put our elected officials in. But we now know for absolute fact.
Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to respect your other fellow citizens here in the room. And
You do not have the right to violate my speech. What I have to say is just as important as what she had to say and what everybody else had to say.
yes, sir. And we have rules about our public comment. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming.
And that's it. It could be 30 people. So I'm going to take my time.
Well, sir, I'm going to have to ask you to stop and follow our rules, or you are going to be escorted out of the room.
Madam Chair, if you would like to direct the Sergeant at Arms, which is the acting DCM county manager, to instruct the sheriff's office.
So what I'm going to do is ask, excuse me, sir, you're out of order. We're going to
Sheriff's
ask.
Office, go ahead and do what you need to do.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time. Thank you, sir. Next, Julianne, is
Ramona Goldsby, followed by Larry Leja, followed by Eric Chavez.
thank you. Ramona.
Good evening, Chair Baca and Commissioners. My name is Ramona Goolsby. Tonight, I want to update you on the progress we have been making around the state with the referendum project. On July 31st, Valencia County Commissioners passed a resolution very similar to the one I presented to you at your last meeting. On August 1st, Eddy County passed the resolution, and on August 17th, Chavez County also passed the resolution supporting their constituents' right to participate in the referendum process. There will be similar resolutions considered in several counties within the next few months. The people are asking for the opportunity to vote on 6 laws that were passed during the legislative session. It is the right of the people, it is a right the people have reserved. There are also cases currently in the courts, including the Supreme Court, on this issue. We have been very excited about the nonpartisan support we have received across the state. People are okay with allowing these laws to be put on the ballot, and I hope it would be okay for you as well. This project has also inspired people to pay more attention to what is happening in our government. I am encouraging people to come to public meetings and listen to what is being discussed. Participate in the process. Do due diligence and investigate the issues and the people involved making those issues. If everyone is educated, we all win. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any more speakers, Julianne?
Larry Leja and Eric Chavez.
Well, my name is Larry Leja, and I'm in District 3. And thank you for your time today. I'd like to address the state of affairs of our New Mexico elections. In particular, we've heard frequently from our Secretary of State how New Mexico elections are safe and secure. I disagree. We have elections that are designed to keep the public from scrutiny of the voting tabulators and the electronic poll books, to name just a few instances where the definition of a free and unfettered election is turned upon its head. So let me demonstrate this by showing you a piece of, well, let's see an example of this kind of tyranny. I got these from this is a piece of the Berlin Wall that I got from the National Churchill Museum located on the campus of Westminster College in the city of Fulton, Missouri. This is where former Prime Minister Winston Churchill in 1946 gave his famous speech for where he stated from Stettin in the Baltic to Trieste in the Adriatic, an iron curtain has descended across the continent. The authorization to create the Berlin Wall in East Germany began at midnight, Saturday, August 13, 1961, as the communists began to seal East Berlin from the Western world. So to me, this piece of concrete represents tyranny, oppression, secrecy, violence, and the silence of free expression. This wall was not meant to allow the free flow of ideas or peoples in and out of East Berlin, but was meant to suppress ideas, opinions, and outsiders from entering into closed society.
Thank you, sir.
And so it is with the New Mexico elections.
Thank you, sir, for your comments.
And that concludes public comment.
Thank you all.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I just
Vice
want to make sure, there was, what I know is misinformation was shared, and I wanted to ask Chief Pettis if he could just clear up the piece about the vaccinations. I don't want these are public forums, people watch this, and I don't want people to have incorrect information. If Chief Pettis, could you please clear that piece up?
Madam Chair, Commissioners, so in question was if licenses were checked or if someone was able to have multiple vaccinations on the same day, which is incorrect. All the shot clinics that were hosted by Bernalillo County were done in partnership with Vita Medical, and nobody was allowed to get a shot without first registering through the online system, and then they were checked off of a checklist that was printed directly from that system and verified against their driver's license or picture ID. At the only time that a $100 incentive was given was when the governor awarded that through the state, and that was done the exact same way. They just were given $100 if they registered through the system that was operated and maintained by Vita Medical.
Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, thank you, Chief
Madam
Pettis.
Chair.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Also, the $100 was issued by the governor, not by Bernalillo County. We had no part in it. And I also remember at the time, Commissioner Barboa, Commissioner Quesada, and myself voted unanimously to not mandate vaccines among Bernalillo County employees, that it was a choice. If you wanted to get them, you could, but there was no, and there was national and state pressure for Bernalillo County to mandate it. And we made the position that absolutely not, wasn't gonna be mandated from the commission. So I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Benson. Okay, we will move on to the approval of the consent agenda. Madam Clerk, can you please provide resolution numbers for item 8D and ordinance numbers for 8H and 8I?
Yes, ma'am. D1 is AR 2023-91. D2 is AR 2023-92. H is ordinance number 2023-18. I is ordinance number 2023-19. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, the consent agenda has been published and made available to the public. Therefore, I move to approve the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Second?
All those in favor say yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Any-
Aye.
Okay, and that passes. Thank you. Okay, item 8 on the agenda, adoption of ordinance amendment to county code. Planning and Development Services, Mr. Nick Ham, PDS Director. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the commission. Nicholas Ham, Director for County Planning and Development Services. Here to present to you tonight 2 proposed amendments to county ordinance. The first one having to do with the county's property nuisance abatement ordinance. As you're aware, this is an ordinance that's administered and enforced by Planning and Development Services. It's how we remove and disincentivize blight from our communities. This particular amendment is specific to the appellate process within the county's procedure. At present, there are 4 opportunities for one to be heard in the county's process, which is highly unusual. More unusual is that a Board of County Commissioners hearing could then be reviewed by a member of staff, which is, it's hard for me to describe just how strange that is, given the context of the county's land use hearing procedures and the construction of state statute. So what we were proposing to do tonight is to correct that, what I would caution to call an error, but just a lack of appropriate design, I guess that was how I'd characterize that. So the amendment would remove the second loop of the appeal in the county's process. The hearing flow would then go from a county hearing officer to the Board of County Commissioners, and then the appeals process beyond that would be to the state's district court system. That's consistent with the way that other land use procedures work. It's consistent with state statute. We've worked with the capable folks in Mr. Martinez's department, And we've also consulted with an outside counsel that was coincidentally one of the folks that used to work here and was one of the original designers of this. So with that, this will make the county's appeals process for nuisance projects more efficient, more effective, and more consistent with other county procedures. And with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Any questions of Mr. Ham? Okay, if not, I'm going to make a motion to, let's see, to introduce and approve for publication.
Yes, ma'am.
So there's not a vote on that. Text amendments to Bernalillo County Code, Chapter 11, Property Nuisance Abatement. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. So we vote on that to put it on, yes, thank you. Still new here. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And item 8B, it's you too, Mr.
All
Ham.
right. Madam Chair, members of the commission, Nicholas Ham, Director of Planning and Development Services again. This is a proposed motion to introduce for publication an update to the county's food code. The county follows what's called the FDA Model Food Code. It's tailored to our specific municipality, but it is the model that's used in local government, state government, and at a national level as well. So it's consistent with our partners at the city. It's consistent with our partners at the state. This is an update that we feel is very timely. We're operating off of a 2005 version of the Model Food Code, so an update feels appropriate for a number of reasons. This was discussed previously, and I just want to let Commissioners Quesada and Commissioner Benson know that the feedback that they provided to the department, we took that to heart. That's been incorporated. The criticism, I think, about not being overly burdensome to our restaurateurs on the heels of a pandemic was well received. So we've taken that into consideration. And what that means is that for the food handler certification program and the food manager program, we're giving a grace period for those restaurants to come online. And we're also reducing the number of folks. So specifically, a food manager only has to be an employee of an entity. You don't have to have one on site all of the time. And we feel that's adequate for food consumer protection and food safety. Some of the other items, if you just bear with me, it'd be really quick. This would allow foods prepared, packaged, and labeled to be donated. It would allow pet dogs in outdoor dining spaces. It would allow additional consumer options for ungraded eggs to be sold. It includes changes to allow edible cannabis products to be manufactured. It reduces the hot water temperature requirement at hand washing stations, and it does the food handler card and protection manager program changes that I just mentioned. There are other minor changes meant to clarify areas of ambiguity or to update best practices as the science evolves around food safety. But it is an incremental change in a lot of ways, and it just brings the county into the modern times as far as food safety and consumer protection goes. And with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Any questions? Commissioner Benson and Commissioner Olivas.
Madam Chair, thank you. Mr. Ham was great to work with. Their goal was to bring food safety up to modern standards for the benefit of the community. And then apparently Commissioner Quesada had similar concerns, but the goal was to not make it just, that we're adversaries to small businesses, that this is something that any business can implement with minimal cost and effort, and yet if they're not doing it already, it'll make a significant improvement to the environment, so to the food environment. So thank you so much for your conscientiousness in walking that line. And I think it was a success. Thank you.
Madam Chair, just very briefly in that vein, and Commissioner Benson, thank you for those comments, but I just did want to also add that as part of this process, we did some outreach to the restaurants that have food permits in the county. So to coincide with this proposed amendment coming to you all, we sent a letter to all of those folks that explained the changes, offered contacts in the department, and provided a copy of the document that we were going to bring to you all. So we do want to be a resource to these folks, and we do want to make sure that it doesn't catch them off guard.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Olivas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Director Ham. I'd like to I don't want to get too into this now. We have some time between this and final passage, but I'd like to set up a meeting with you and your staff at some point to chat about some concerns that have been raised to me about the availability and legality of selling some local agricultural products within county limits that apparently are not the same in counties outside of ours. So I'd love to sit down with you and talk about that and make sure that we're supporting our local agriculture and allowing people to make decisions about what food they consume.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Olivas, absolutely, at your, whatever is convenient for you. And one of the changes that we did incorporate, as I mentioned, was the ungraded eggs. I believe, if I understand your question correctly, that's part of the process that we're allowing to occur in the county.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions?
Just a quick note of recognition that I met with a few of the cannabis owners in my district, and they were thankful for this, but they also mentioned to me that their work, that they even went to the county instead of other places, instead of the city, because of the ease of working with the county, got so much good and quick responses. And so I just want to thank you and recognize, because I heard loud and clear from multiple of the cannabis owners that the county was great to work with. So thank you.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Barbeau, we're very proud of our customer service, and that's a good segue for me to introduce Kelson Platero. He's the county's health protection manager. He's really the brains behind this, and he does a great job working with the folks in the community.
Yeah, thank you. Did you have a comment?
No, thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate it. Yeah, we already did all the work, but I appreciate it.
Okay. So I make a motion to introduce and approve for publication text amendments to Bernalillo County Code, Chapter 42, Health and Sanitation Food Code Update.
Second.
And it's been seconded by everyone.
Yep.
So, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Agenda item number 9, adoption of resolutions. Kathy Court, Chief of Government Affairs, the Capital Improvement Program outlay awarded for Bernalillo County nonprofit services.
It's a long time already. Good evening, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, and Commissioners. Thank you for having me today. First, before I get started, I wanted to introduce a new member of our team, CIP Strategic Program Manager, Lori Romero. She has really helped me with this particular agenda item tonight because she has been with the county for some 23 years as a fiscal accountant, so she knows up and down and all around grant IDs and everything else we need to do in order to bring this before you this evening. And she's here to answer any questions you might have. But basically, this resolution is asking for your approval for a budget increase of $10 million, $10,742,475. These appropriations were made for fiscal year '24 from the 2023 legislative session that just ended earlier this year. These particular appropriations are for nonprofit services. And if you recall, in June, you all approved the multi-award RFP in which the nonprofit organizations that sought capital outlay participated. In an effort for us to achieve anti-donation compliance with the Department of Finance and Administration. So this agenda item before you asks that you budget the appropriations because the multi-award RFP has been completed. We have a list of RFP finalists who are ready to start spending this money as soon as it's budgeted. Our next steps after budget approval by the commission will be, we already have meetings scheduled with our nonprofits tomorrow, beginning tomorrow, to start working on their third-party agreements and all the associated documents that we need to get ready and to send to DFA in order for DFA to execute these capital outlay grants and allow us to assist these nonprofits in spending their money on the things and the items that they want to spend their money on. So we stand for any questions and we recommend approval.
Thank you, Ms. Court.
Thank you.
Excellent work on this. I think this should streamline things, so I really appreciate all your work on it. Welcome. All right.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Commissioner
so move.
Barbeau and then Olivas. Oh, well, let me get a resolution number if you're going to move of approval. Madam Clerk, can you issue a resolution number?
Yes, ma'am. FR 2023-93.
Okay.
Yeah, Madam Chair, if I may, sorry, move for approval, item FR 2023-93.
Second.
Okay. Did you have a comment as well? Commissioner Olivas.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and Ms. Court. I just wanted to thank you for your work on this, and I wanted to recognize the work of all our staff at Bernalillo County in supporting the nonprofits in our entire region. We are the leader in the region in facilitating this funding of nonprofits, which several of our other partners in the region have recently declined to continue doing because there is a lot of administrative overhead. There is a lot of, resolutions that we have to run through commission and preparation to make sure that we're compliant with anti-donation statutes and et cetera. So I just want to recognize the important work of your staff and all of our staff here at the county and the important work of our nonprofit providers that provide these services, these important services to our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, no more discussion. I call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that
Thank you.
passes. Thank you. Item C, Economic Development, Industrial Revenue Bonds. Madam Clerk, can you please issue a resolution number?
Yes, ma'am. AR 2023-94.
94. Executive Development Officer Marcos Gonzalez to present.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the Commission. The Economic Development staff recommends the approval of the inducement resolution authorizing the Bernalillo County Commission to approve an industrial revenue bond application on behalf of LDM MP LLC. And I'll stand for any questions. And for clarity, this is the IRB that will be used to purchase and redevelop the Marriott Pyramid North Hotel.
Thank you, Marcos. I move approval, and then we can have discussion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Move approval of AR 2023-94. Thank you, Commissioner. And it's been seconded. Any discussion?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, he wants to move this along. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Does this mean First Fridays is coming back? Just kidding.
Oh, yeah.
There will be, Madam Chair and Commissioner Marboy, there will be a lounge that will be part of the redevelopment. It may not be First Fridays, but there will be an opportunity for us to have a happy hour.
Nice. Well, this is a happy time. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Investing in our community. Item 10B, Office of Criminal Justice and Behavioral Health Initiatives. Madam Clerk, can you please give us a resolution number for New Mexico Veterans Transitional Living Services Center?
Yes, ma'am. FR 2023-95.
Good evening. My name is Pam Acosta, Senior Manager for the Behavioral Health Initiative. And I am bringing before you a proposal for the Veterans Integration Center of New Mexico Transitional Living Services, which seeks $663,153 in non-recurring capital and startup dollars to support the development and construction of the Veterans Transitional Living Center campus. This agenda item is co-sponsored by Commissioner Barboa and Commissioner Olivas. As you may recall, in December 22, the Board of County Commissioners approved Financial Resolution 2022-141, appropriating $3.5 million of fund balance from the Behavioral Health Gross Receipts Tax to the Veterans Integration Center for capital and startup to build a transitional living campus. The 3-acre campus, which already broke ground, will offer 42 veteran units and 6 additional beds for unhoused veterans and their families. The campus will operate 24/7 and will deliver supportive services towards permanent housing and provide wraparound services that include case management, financial planning and budget, employment services, job placement, mental health and substance use counseling, legal service, transportation, and basic needs support. The Veterans Integration Center, or the VIC, it's also known, secured a total of $7.7 million through the BHI Gross Receipts Tax, a federal grant through the Veterans Administration, and a small grant through the City of Albuquerque. Since this time, due to inflation, construction and supply cost increases and adjusted architectural fees, the project cost has increased, and the VIC New Mexico has experienced a deficit of $666,153. The motion before you this evening is as follows. approve $666,153 in non-recurring capital and startup dollars to support the continued development of the Veterans Integration Center, thus authorizing the county manager to execute all associated agreements and the adoption of a financial resolution appropriating this amount from the behavioral health gross receipts tax. Present with me this evening is Jerry Becker, the board chairman of Veterans Integration Center, Brock Wolf, the CEO, and Rick Bennett, the project architect. And at this time, we stand for any questions.
Any questions? Vice Chair Olive?
I just want to thank you all, both thank you for your patience. Thank you, Pam. Thank you, everyone, for patience as we try and figure out. I'm excited and honored that the county gets to be the biggest contributor to this big center. Like you all have heard me say several times, I live a rock throw away from this community, and I've lived in the same place my whole life. So it's real important to me, and I know, Mr. Brock, that you offered a neighborhood agreement early on, and I understand, I was there, so I understand some of the confusion that happened is on different people's hands, and that you all were trying to do your best due diligence to meet that community's needs. So we've committed to making sure we follow up to help, and I heard back about your commitment. I'm thankful, I'm excited for the veterans, and I just wanted to mention from those community meetings we got to go to, there were several veterans present that lived. In fact, one man, he just really stuck in my mind. He came with a piece of paper that named that the creation of the Kirtland Addition area was specifically for African-American military housing. That was what the area was originally developed for. So I think it's just full circle and a beautiful place that the Veterans Integration Center can be in this community, hopefully really intently serve African-American veterans, and all our veterans, of course. But so I'm honored to sponsor this, and I'm glad, and I ask that in return, our commitments continued forward to make sure that community stays whole, and not just because it's definitely not your responsibility, but as we enter with such great amounts of money and services into a community that has been traditionally underserved, we can make a difference. I'm just thankful and ask for your continued commitment to that. And again, I move to approve. I'm really thankful for it.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any? Commissioner Olivas?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm so grateful to co-sponsor this with Vice Chair Barboa. Thank you to our BHI staff for shepherding this project for a couple years now. And thank you to Veterans Integration Center and your staff there. And thank you for being patient with us over the last couple weeks here. I know that Commissioner Barboa and I both interfaced with the city as well as the VA, and unfortunately we're unable to find anybody that was able to further support this. So we are happy, thrilled, I think, here on the commission to support this project in partnership with you all and those others mentioned. So I think it's just notable that the county is by far the primary funder of this project, and it's really a commitment of our vision to support those who have served our country, support those who have supported us when they return and they need help. And the vision of this center is really a true center, from those emergency services all the way to permanent supportive housing if needed on one campus in one place to support those in need. And I want to thank Commissioner Barboa for her leadership and her interface with the community here, such an important and historic community. And we had a conversation earlier today about us and perhaps some of the leadership at the VIC, also following up with some of our friends at the city of Albuquerque and seeing what we can do to help those neighborhoods with some of their traffic concerns and other things like that, just to make sure that we complete the loop here and support this community that is supporting our veterans and supporting our community. So thank you for what you do, and I urge my colleagues' support.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Benson?
Commissioner Olivas, you absolutely have it. And thank you, both of you, for being here, and thank you for your patience also. And I trust everything can still go off without a hitch. The only reason I agreed to vote to defer was because it wouldn't mess up the timelines. When I went to the groundbreaking, the mayor was there, and Commissioner Quesada, and it was, and a few of you others might have been there too. I apologize if I don't name you, but it's obviously so needed, and it's we're behind the ball in terms of what's needed for all areas of housing and integration and transitional living. So keep up the good work. I wish this city, and, I commend Commissioner Barbeau and Olivas for reaching out to the city, trying to seek partnership. I wish they had. I wasn't expecting them to, but we do, and happy to do it and go out and keep doing good work. Thank you.
Say one thing. Madam Chair, Vice Chair, and Board of Commissioners, I would just like to say on behalf of the VIC Board and all the VIC staff that this would not have happened without Bernalillo County. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
You got it.
Madam Chair.
We move on to 10C, Human Resources. HR Director Bernadette Perez, along with the Sheriff's Office.
Good evening, Madam Chair and Commissioners. On behalf of the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office, Human Resources is seeking Commission approval to create 8 new full-time court security officer positions. Currently, the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office is not able to fully staff District Court, the Public Safety Center, and the Juvenile Justice Center at minimum staffing requirements. And so the current allotted positions for court security staff is 18 that are funded, which doesn't meet the minimum staffing requirements for District Court and JJC combined. The inability to staff the courts at minimum staffing has led to a large amount of overtime expenditures. And so paying overtime at rank has been implemented to increase staffing levels at District Court. This has been a temporary solution, but is of high cost and is yet to be determined. It's the sustainability. And I will defer to the sheriff for any additional information that he may have to add and to help answer any questions you may have.
Good evening, Madam Chair and Commission. Any questions you have, but I will tell you the financial impact on the plan that we started as opposed to 13 security aids, would be $687,185. For 8 court security officers, the total would be $678,922. We here at the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office, not only to serve our community, but we want to be good stewards of taxpayer money. This would be a savings of $8,263, and that would protect our courts and judges with a 7-star deputy to make sure that they are all safe, as opposed to a court security officer who does not have any less than lethal, any other tools, or can even detain somebody. So that's where we stand, and I'm here for any questions.
Thank you, Sheriff Allen. And I want to make a motion to approve this. Do I have a second? And I have a statement. I'm sure there are some comments, but I truly appreciate you, Sheriff, and thank you, Director Pettis, for this very important. I know that you had my back a minute ago, and so I know you'll have theirs, and the court is really important, and so thank you for your good work in the community. Any other comments?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Olivas.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Mr. Sheriff, for coming down here. Wanted to pull this item from consent just to, first of all, highlight your commitment and our commitment up here at the Commission to making sure that we fully fund and fully staff our public safety initiatives. And what struck me here was, that we're currently filling these gaps with fully sworn deputies on overtime at great expense to our taxpayers and perhaps at great expense to the morale of all of the employees, the families, those involved. And so this really, I think, when these positions are fully filled, which I hope you can do quickly, and I trust your leadership that you're going to move swiftly on this. I think this could really make a difference in not just budgets and that morale situation, but getting officers on the streets, using that overtime if need be, for TAC plans and for special initiatives and for keeping people safe in other spaces as well as the courts. So I just appreciate your commitment to looking at public safety holistically. It's not just about the squad cars and the deputies that are out in the field. It's about the entire public safety picture. So I do appreciate that. And then in reference to the positions that are being frozen here, the security positions are being frozen and reallocated to this. I guess this may be a question for HR more so, but why not just remove these positions entirely if we're reallocating the funding somewhere else to what I think is a really important initiative? And the other kind of question there is, what were those security positions used for? Obviously, they're not filled, so I'm just curious where they were.
For the security aids, is that what you're asking? Security aids are basically CSA. So before they were at the Metropolitan Detention Center, running metal detectors, and also at the PSC building doing the same. When we came into office, we wanted to make sure that it was a program that was sustainable, so eventually it was not a career, that it was somebody that can move in and be a deputy. What we wanted to do is make sure that they're out taking crashes with no injuries. We want to make sure that, as I discussed earlier with some constituents, a tangible response from the sheriff's office. We are into technology, but we believe that people want contact and not just with the computer or any AI. They respond to accidents, also towing vehicles. That relieves a full-time deputy so he can respond to priority 1, 2, and 3 calls. So that's what those security aids would do. We only need 7 or 8. Again, we don't need to be overbearing with it in the field. It would be overdone. They're not needed. They're wasted positions. As far as for the court security, has been probably at least 5 or 6 years before anybody has even tried to fill those positions. And we spoke about morale earlier. They are deputies that are older of age also, and they need to make sure that we have a sustainable program and bring younger people in. Not everybody wants to be a deputy that is in the streets, as opposed to answering calls, taking calls for service, but someone that can guard our judges and protect them, but also have the same law enforcement power and arresting powers as any 7-star deputy. So we believe it'd be a more sustainable program, and also a bridge to, if they change their mind in 2 to 3 years, they would also be able to be a deputy and go into our lateral academy and get all the rest of the training that they need.
Thank you, Mr. Sheriff.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Benson.
Sheriff Allen, thank you so much for your commitment to increasing the safety of the community, and the courthouse is no exception. A month ago, 2 months ago, we had a ribbon cutting and at the courthouse, and your under sheriff was there, highlighting the extra waiting room that we had built to keep domestic abuse victims separated from the accusers because of a attempted murder that had happened, and sheriff's deputies had to take down the assailant. So they need security there just as much as anywhere else, and you've got my support.
Thank you.
Vice Chair Barbour.
Thank you, and I just want to mention there was Commissioner Benson that sponsored that room. He's humble and didn't give himself light there. I just want to thank you for this, and I mostly wanted to say that I also have my district that is all in the incorporated area of Bernalillo County, I've gotten to see Under Sheriff at many places, and thank you so much for the support, meeting directly with CARES Campus and trying to work out how we continue that system of care. So unrelated, just wanted to give appreciations while everybody's here, and much thanks to your leadership and those of your Under Sheriffs.
Great, thank you so much.
Commissioner Casada.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Sheriff. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, good work. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Our last item is a discussion item, Behavioral Health Initiative, Department of Behavioral Health Services, quarterly update. Pam Acosta and Jessica Jaramillo.
Let me start by saying good evening, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, and Commissioners. I think hunger got the best of me, and I left that out and just came and introduced myself earlier. So
Thanks for
I
hanging in there
apologize
with
for
us,
that.
ladies.
All right, tonight we're here to present some quarterly updates on behavioral health initiative. We flipped coins and I'm gonna go first. All right. Mostly what I wanted to do tonight was just to highlight some of the achievements that we've noticed over the past quarter. You know that there's 4 different focus areas that we provide services in: community supports, crisis services, housing supports, and prevention, intervention, and harm reduction. Under our community supports, I wanted to let you guys know that our peer drop-in centers had 244 new clients and 738 returning clients. Some of those providers for our peer drop-in centers is Albuquerque Center for Hope and Recovery, Crossroads for Women, and Best Chance. Under our peer case management, we had 42 new clients and 142 returning clients who access services, and this is through Central Savila. And under the multi-award, we're currently working to negotiate agreements with 3 providers to provide peer case management for FY24 and FY25. That's through our multi-award. We do offer senior peer case management. We had 25 new clients and 157 returning clients who were served. A lot of the senior needs has to do with rental assistance and connection to utility payments. And we're trying to establish some partnerships also with aging and long-term services and also our own senior affairs department as well. Heading Home, this is really a good highlight. Heading Home is one of our senior peer case management providers, placed 7 seniors who were staying at the Westside Emergency Housing Center into permanent housing. Under our prevention, intervention, and harm reduction, we mentioned about the ACEs earlier. You heard Bryce Pittinger mention the ACEs. We had 1,947 children ages 0 to 18 who were served. All 8 providers have moved into their 3rd year of programming. Some of those providers are All Faiths, AMI Kids, Central Savila, A New Day, Cuidando de los Niños, YDI, and Enlace. Enlace is one of our newer contracts. Under suicide prevention, 9,912 individuals were served through suicide prevention programs. Our partners are APS and Central Savila and First Nations. Under our community engagement teams, 161 children, youth, and adults were served who, without proper intervention, would escalate to a higher level of care, such as hospitalization, incarceration, and homelessness. During the quarter, when the park was shutting down on 2nd Street, we worked with the city of Albuquerque. We continue to offer our support to them as needed with ACS. If they need our assistance, we'll go out and we'll send the CE team to assist. Under supportive housing, our youth transitional living, 229 people were served. That program, our providers are YDI, New Day, Casa Q, and Serenity Mesa. And we also have Betty Valdez, who's in the audience. And so we had some fruitful meetings this morning about the community connection supportive housing program. This program housed 603 individuals. They were housed and received services. Some of the challenges that they discuss and we wanted to bring up during this meeting is that there continues to be a housing shortage and difficult finding landlords who are willing to accept housing vouchers. So we are problem solving with that, and I think that that's something that we could also address through the working group, some of those recommendations as we start to map out some of those services. Under our single site housing, Hope Village, that is a 42-unit facility that provides permanent housing. 39 of those units are filled. 3 of them are in repair right now, but those numbers are very, very good to keep people housed. And they're providing wraparound services there as well. We issued 201 motel vouchers last quarter, and all of those clients received case management. Some of those providers that provide those that funnel those housing vouchers for us are Heading Home, HopeWorks, and First Nations. Okay. Good news for us, the Tiny Home Village. We prepared this slide for you a couple weeks ago when we thought we were gonna come at the beginning of August. At that time, we had 26 homes filled with 6 individuals with housing vouchers and 3 penny move-outs. And since then, those 3 individuals have moved out. We are currently sitting at 23. However, we are conducting intakes regularly, anywhere from 4 to 5 per week, including pre-screening, so that we have folks ready to go. We opened our application window for 1 week during last quarter, and we received 132 applications at that time.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Benson.
Ms. Acosta, can I ask a question
Sure.
to the tiny home villas? Of the 26 homes that are currently filled, how many residents does that count for?
Madam Chair and Commissioner Benson, 26. We currently do not have any units that have 2 people.
Great. Well done. That's a huge improvement. So slow and steady, but well done.
Thank you, Commissioner, appreciate it. All right, and then under our Resource Reentry Center, we just celebrated our 5-year anniversary. And thank you to Commissioner Barboa, who was one of our guest speakers at the event, and is featured on one of the YouTube videos highlighting that event, so thank you for that. We continue, some of the cool things that we're doing at the RRC is that we're partnering with the district court to hold out-of-custody competency evaluations. There was a backlog, so we're allowing those individuals to come back into the Resource Reentry Center, complete their competency evaluation, and then we're offering services to them when they get out. Some of those evaluations may be traumatizing, they may experience triggers, and we're there to support them, offer them a meal, and then get them connected to other services when they come back in. We recently partnered with the Metro Court. They did a media release for their new opt-in program. And their opt-in program stands for Overdose Prevention Treatment Court. It's a nonviolent, it's for nonviolent offenders. It's a 90-day program. It's non-mandatory, but it has legal incentives, such as a dismissal of their case or transitioning their case, their charges from a felony to a misdemeanor. This provides, in partnership with the jail and with the RRC and other community providers, will provide transportation directly to treatment or to a substance use facility. Let's see here. And Care Campus, of course. We send people to Care Campus. And then we are currently working in partnership with UNM Hospital on the implementation team to ensure a smooth transition. As they're our new medical provider, we're going over the risk framework and transition planning and how we can connect individuals and streamline that connection, including those that are housed in the psychiatric acute unit, how we can get those folks connected to service much earlier and sooner in the game. So far, the conversations have been very fruitful, a lot of ideas, and has been very collaborative. We're thankful for the relationship. Some really interesting, and I feel that this will be good to point out. We did some research. Thankfully, Dr. Michael Hess, who works at our Care Campus, and Sarah Spain, who is currently the program manager at RRC, they did some research to look at the impact with transition planning has on recidivism. And what we found is that prior to engage in transition planning, the average number of bookings was 2.15. After engaging, it has been reduced to 1.06. So at least by 50%, it's being reduced. We also looked at length of stay, and the length of stay prior to transition planning was 102.45 days. And after transition planning and meeting with, whether it's a transition planner up at the jail or whether they're at the Resource Reentry Center, after that engagement, the average length of stay has decreased to 57.31 days. So we feel like those are some significant numbers to point out that what we're doing is actually starting to work.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes, sure.
That's interesting. Like, I'm trying to understand, what does the transitional plan have to do with length? You're talking about length of days in jail.
Yes.
And so do they get, like, when they complete the plan, do they possibly get out early, or what? How does these link?
What we're finding is that if they've completed a transition plan and say this might be their second booking, it's either a lesser charge or they're able to be connected with services a lot faster while they're in custody. So working with their attorneys to get them connected to a program. the attorney can use those goals to say this is why they should be let out sooner.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. And that's it, and I stand for any questions.
Any questions? Commissioner Olivas.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Pam, for all that you do for so many people in our community. I just wanted to highlight a couple of things. They're really not questions, but the work that you're doing on placing seniors into permanent housing. I was at a meeting with Steve Decker and some other folks with Heading Home and talking about the population at the West Side Emergency Housing Shelter. And it's just an incredible tragedy. The number that they pegged was there's probably about 120 seniors there on a recurring basis that are probably there only because they are not necessarily disabled, so they don't qualify for Medicaid or some of these other things that would pay to house them, but they don't make enough money to rent an apartment on their own, and they're likely aged out of the workforce. Just an incredible story, just, folks that deserve a lot better. And so 7 out of 120, it's not enough, but it's really a huge accomplishment. And, there's a lot of credit to be given there for that. And we've got to keep working at that and helping that population of seniors. And then the other question, I guess this is a question about the community engagement teams. I didn't really know that we did that. And so is that actually county employees doing that, or do we have contractors that do that, or how does that work?
Correct. Our providers, Madam Chair, Commissioner Olivas, our provider for our community engagement team is YDI. So we contract with them to provide that service.
And is that a service that's kind of similar to what ACS is doing, going out and, I guess ACS is more of a dispatch-based thing, but how is that contractor utilized?
So they're quite similar, with the exception of our community engagement teams will carry a caseload. So they'll follow them. They can provide that case management service ongoing. I think that might be the difference. They're not dispatched, but they will actually go out and conduct outreach as, when they're driving along. If somebody refers them, they accept those referrals and they'll take somebody onto their caseload.
Fantastic. I didn't know that. So really appreciate you educating me and all of us on all the good work that you're doing at the BHI.
Madam Chair, thank you, Commissioner, for your comments. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Jessica. Oh, Vice Chair Barbo.
I just wanted to ask, the numbers that were presented today are specific, like all the different numbers are specifically for the last quarter?
That's correct.
Okay, just wanted to make that clear. And that was it, I think.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Vice Chair.
All right. Good evening, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, Board of Commissions. All right, so, Care Campus does have a lot going on, so I'm just gonna highlight a couple of things that are currently going on. Of course, as you all know, that our outpatient clinic has opened as of June, and they have started seeing a lot of our clients on our Care Campus. So far, they have seen 32 clients that are in our detox. We've actually opened it up to the Resource Reentry Center, so they have been in some of our biweekly meetings with Duke City, where they are now referring clients to the outpatient clinic. We just also met with MDC, with the social service coordinators. They actually did a presentation this past week on the services that they provide so that they can start referring clients from MDC directly to the outpatient clinic. So we've opened that. I also had a meeting with the City of Albuquerque last week, and they're very interested in referring clients from the Gateway Center to the outpatient clinic. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we'll be able to meet with them so that they can start referring our clients. But our supportive aftercare clients have completely taken full advantage of this, which is great. And so they've actually helped them not only for medicated assisted treatment, but also for mental health behavioral therapy. So that's been a huge success for them. And of course, we've seen a great increase. 70% of our participants are seen for the first visit. What we've actually implemented is we start the referral process usually on the second day that they're in detox, and so that they could actually be seen by a provider at the outpatient clinic while they're still in detox. And so they're not, discharging and then falling off. And so we've worked on that. We do meet bi-weekly so that we could kind of figure out ways on making sure that they're coming up for their second visit. So that means, following up with their list. They let us know we let them know who have discharged so that they are able to follow up once they leave our campus. All right, also another big change is we changed our food provider. We are now with the Healthcare Service Group, which has been a huge help. As you all know, food is everything to our clients, and this actually provides a huge variety of different types of food. In fact, we've had fish, which is new, and the clients are extremely enjoying it. And this also gives a different variety for clients who may have a specialized meal. If there's, of course, diabetic or they have hypertension issues, they're able to have a specialty meal that's specifically for them. And so they're surely enjoying. That's actually a picture on the first day, and we were shocked of how an actual hamburger should look. And they got ice cream. All right. Also, what we've worked really hard these past couple of months on our Care Campus partners, and so we currently have a agreement with Bernalillo County Parks and Rec, and so our supportive aftercare clients go twice a week over to the different variety community centers. They come and pick them up, and they've been doing wood burning, ceramics. I think they just had volleyball today. They've done rafting actually in the beginning of the month. And so they're extremely excited, enjoying, and I believe they go to Meow Wolf now in September, so they're very excited. We also have our interactive healing acupuncture, so that should be starting in the next couple of weeks. They'll be providing acupuncture for our detox as well as our crisis stabilization and for our supportive aftercare, and we're hoping to extend that once our young adult program opens up next year. We also have a good partnership with the Bernalillo County Animal Welfare, and so we do have our supportive aftercare clients that volunteer 3 times out of the week over at the shelter, and they surely enjoy it because they get to work with the animals, and so they surely, and it gets them that experience too. So we've actually had a couple of clients wanting to apply for jobs over there, so that's been a good success there. We also will be starting Unwind Yoga, which is more trauma-informed yoga for our detox, as well as our crisis stabilization and our SAC, and hopefully young adult program. And we're hoping to really start that, in the next couple of weeks. And so the clients really enjoyed that. We kind of had to go through RFP for that. And so we're finally being able to get back on starting on that, so they're excited. We also have a volunteer, Ralph Estes, who's a New Mexico, I'm probably not gonna say this right, Chautauqua troubadour. It's more of folk music, and so he does songs that are mostly about New Mexico history, and so I know one of his famous ones is Billy Kid and Me, and so he kind of goes through the whole story of Billy Kid and pretending that he was a friend of his, and so the clients have surely enjoyed that, and he's planning to do kind of little performances, concerts for supportive aftercare in the evenings.
Madam Chair? I'm sorry to interrupt you, Jessica. I just wanted to say, this is just such a great example of community partnerships and partnerships within our organization. The thing with animal care just really gets to my heart, having these folks have the opportunity to work with our homeless pets that need that interaction with humans, and they probably need it just as much to have that supportive interaction, and building both those groups up, it just really gets my heart. So thank you for making all this work. It's awesome.
Of course. We're very excited, and I know sometimes they want to bring the dogs home, and we tell them no. I don't think our community cat will enjoy that. So that's been great, and it's not up here, but we just started with the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office, and so we've been working with their behavioral health liaison, Diane Dussel, where we've been educating their sheriff officers regarding our services that we have on campus, and so we've kind of set up a process where they will be calling to kind of being able to refer clients who they may be working, they may responded to a call and they're needing services, so they're able to bring them on our campus. So we've started that this week. And then these are our numbers. I believe Deputy County Manager Chief Perez had sent this to you in the beginning of the month, but this is what we currently have. Have you noticed, we've had which I'm, excited about, we've had a huge increase in our supportive aftercare intakes, which I don't think I've seen 9 come in a month in quite a couple of years. So this has been great. And what we've also noticed is that the clients are staying longer. So this past month in July, we've had at least 6 completely successfully complete the program, which is huge for us. So they've truly enjoyed it. And I think having a lot of these partners and being able to get them involved in the community has been a great for them. Our turn-away numbers are a little high. We did have 2 clients who had tested positive while being on our detox floor, so that did end up having us to do a closure. We unfortunately had another positive case just a couple weeks ago, so we are seeing an increase in COVID. Luckily, we still are testing them when they first come in, so we are kind of stopping them right before they come in, before they get through, but sometimes, they come through, so. And I'll stand for any questions.
Any questions, Commissioner? Chief Perez.
So Madam Chair, Commissioner, I just wanted to add something, just a kind of an experience. I was at the Care Campus on Monday, which was yesterday, I guess it was, and was sitting in the living room, just kind of hanging out, chatting with the staff there. And there was an individual who happened to be in there talking to one of the caseworkers, and he took time to tell me how we have absolutely changed his life completely. If it wouldn't have been for the case managers that are inside the living room coming into his life, he would probably not be here today. He gets his ankle bracelet off in 2 weeks. He's found employment. He was celebrating his birthday, which he was grateful to even be able to do that. So again, we are making changes in people's lives every day at the Care Campus, and I couldn't be more proud of the leadership that Jessica is showing and the efforts and dedication of our staff. Thank you.
Any other comments?
I have a quick comment. I did remember I had to say, Pam, thank you for the great presentation, and also thank you for mentioning the partners' names, our partner organizations. I think both it helps them be recognized, but also for us as commissioner to know that all the different partnerships that we're working with in community providers. I was at YDI last week, and I was saying, I don't hear, they told me a bunch of programs they're doing with us, and I was like, I didn't know that was YDI. So I appreciate mentioning of their names. I think it lifts up our community and that we're working in partnership. And Ms. Jessica Adamio, thank you so much. I feel emotional seeing these slides. I'm really glad that so much effort has been to make this a place where things are moving in and out, and energies and all these opportunities for our folks that need and deserve it, so they can have healing and recovery. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Acosta. Ms. Jaramillo.
Madam Chair, if I may just add one more thing. When you mentioned the partnerships by name, and Commissioner Olivas, you mentioned this earlier. I forgot to mention that we are building or reestablishing those connections and connecting those providers together. In October, we're going to be hosting our BHI-funded provider summit. So getting all of our providers together, reminding them to work with one another, who each other is, providing some workshops to them. And then this Friday, the Resource Reentry Center is hosting a quarterly meeting where we gather criminal justice partners. And that's going to be a huge networking. We have at least 100 names or agencies on that list that we'll be presenting to. So I just wanted to point that out, that it's starting to happen, and we really want to engage the community and to work with one another.
Great. Thank you. Thank you both for all your good work.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And with that, I announce that Tuesday, September 12th, 2023 is our next administrative meeting at 5 here in the chambers, and this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.